Welcome friends, and thank you once again for joining me for a chilled guitar review. This guitar marks an exciting new chapter for the channel, and it also represents only the second time I have reviewed a signature model. I would like to give thanks to a brand new supporter of the channel. This guitar has kindly been supplied for review by our friends at Live Louder, the most metal independent guitar shop in the UK. Live Louder specialise in stocking the most cutting-edge, heavy metal-focused instruments from manufacturers such as Legator, Ormsby, ESP, Ibanez, many more. If you like the look of this guitar, it's available direct right now from Live Louder. Just follow the link in the video description. You will struggle to find a more divisive topic among guitarists than signature model guitars. The very first signature model guitar was released in 1988, and it was Fender's collaboration with Eric Clapton and Yngwie Malmsteen. Ever since then, manufacturers have made an absolute killing collaborating with famous artists, producing affordable instruments to similar specs to what they use live. And currently you will find no shortage of signature model guitars ranging from the £400 price point all the way up to like £5 for a Slash Les Paul if you really want to go crazy. Now this week's guitar we have in for a chilled review is the ESP LTD KS6, which is the signature model of Ken Susi from the band Unearth. And in the process of doing a chilled review for this guitar, I thought it would be interesting to look at the pros and the cons of buying a signature model guitar. Now in the case of this guitar, this is exactly the same as the one Ken Susi uses live. So he uses an LTD, Korean made, mass manufactured, exactly the same as this. Sometimes with signature model guitars, you will find that what is available for sale is kind of a more affordable cut down version of like a crazy multi-thousand-pound custom shop guitar. A good example of this would be Stephen Carpenter's signature models available from LTD. The ones he plays live are full-blown ESP custom shops. The ones available for sale are the mass-manufactured, more affordable LTD versions. Now the downside of a signature model guitar can be that it's a little bit of a one-trick pony, or maybe you feel like you are playing somebody else's instrument, or maybe you feel like you're wearing someone else's sweater. The upside to that, however, is that by slapping the name of a famous artist on a guitar, manufacturers are able to take much bigger risks when it comes to things like paint finishes, appointments and specs. You only need to look at the current catalogue of guitars from all the biggest manufacturers to know that, playing it safe is like dark coloured guitars, 25.5-inch scale, 2 humbuckers, just very like standard kind of dark colours that they know will sell well. However, when a manufacturer has the reassurance that they will be able to sell some of these guitars purely because a famous artist has put their name to it, they tend to be more extravagant with specs and finishes and things like that, and this guitar is no exception. So specs wise, we have an absolutely outrageous looking mahogany body. This has a metallic silver sparkle finish, a fully chromed out scratch plate and a chromed out matching truss rod guard. This is a neck through design with an extremely cool and unique scarfed neck joint, which feels great to play. It comes equipped with a chromed out pair of Fishman Fluence modern humbuckers. Now, I personally don't like overly dyed fretboards where it just looks like the keys on a piano, just a black lump. This Mikasa ebony board is exactly how I like it. There are still visible stripes in the wood and it's dark and looks the part, but it still looks like what it is, which is a piece of wood. And me personally, I really like to see that on an ebony fretboard. I think it just looks much more classy than like a kind of fake, overly dyed looking fretboard. We have nickel frets, not stainless steel. The nut on this guitar is molded, which basically means it's a plastic nut, which I never really like to see. However, the presence of an EverTune bridge completely negates any downsides you may have had from the fact this has a plastic nut. As we'll see, as we'll get into in a minute, tuning stability is something you will never ever have to worry about with this guitar. I am overjoyed to also tell you that this guitar comes with a full-blown padded lined hard shell case, which is a really lovely addition, and ESP cases really are nice. Like, they're some of the nicest cases that come with instruments that I've encountered. They're just so thick and you really have that peace of mind that it protects the guitar properly, you know, certainly more than a gig bag would. This guitar is manufactured in Korea, and those of you who regularly watch the channel will know that I really rate Korean guitars. I think that currently, in terms of mass manufactured instruments, Korea pretty much represents the best price to quality kind of balance and trade-off. And this guitar is built exceptionally well. Every single LTD I've reviewed on this channel, be it Indonesian or Korean, has always had like exceptionally good fretwork. Like, the quality of the shouldering and the roll off on the frets is like really kind of almost like better than you would expect. You know, it's almost bordering on like Japanese kind of custom shop levels of like attention to detail. I must say as well that the binding on this guitar is really something that isn't done justice in the pictures. So, you know, this guitar looks striking enough in the pictures, but when you get it and you're sat here looking down playing it, the white tortoise shell binding just looks fantastic. I've actually only seen this type of binding on Japanese-made E2s. To my knowledge, there isn't another LTD that has the binding like this, all the way up the neck, all the way around the headstock, all the way around the body. And it really is just such a nice, like, attention to detail addition. So build quality, there really isn't anything I can fault on this guitar, like, at all. Bearing in mind, this is an LTD and not the kind of premium end ESP E2 line. However, price-wise, this is the top end of what LTD offers. So this guitar retails around like 1800, which is expensive, you know, certainly the top end of what LTD retails. But I must say, like, from my point of view, I have just finished reviewing a Japanese-made Ibanez Prestige, and I think this compares really quite favorably to it, build quality-wise. You know, maybe there isn't the absolute crisp, minute attention to detail that there was on that Ibanez, but I don't think you're going to be disappointed if you spend full retail. I've had this guitar in my office on a stand for the past week, and anybody who has come in or just been through the house or visiting has zoned in on this guitar. Like, pictures really don't do justice to just how reflective and shiny and eye-catching it is. You know, like, this thing is like a head turner and kind of a stage guitar in a way that most other guitars aren't, just because it's so bright and reflective. We often talk on this channel about stage guitars, living room guitars, bedroom guitars. Without a doubt, this thing is a stage guitar. One of the first videos that I ever uploaded to this channel was the review of having an EverTune bridge retrofitted to one of my Schecter guitars. So I'm very familiar with the EverTune bridge. Funnily enough, this guitar was the first ever ESP or LTD guitar to have an EverTune bridge fitted to it. So Susi was kind of a pioneer in that regard. This was, when it came out, the only model that LTD did with an EverTune bridge fitted to it. It has its fans, it has people who strongly dislike it. You know, there is no such thing as a free lunch in this world, so nothing comes without its downsides. I mean, look, the downside of the EverTune bridge is that it requires routing a massive cavity out of the guitar, and it involves having your strings mounted on spring-loaded individual saddles. So all that to say that there is definitely going to be a noticeable change in the resonant qualities of the guitar. You know, certainly in the way it will sound acoustically, the way it will sound plugged in, much less so. I mean, you could even argue that it's impossible to tell, really. Certainly, I have played some EverTune equipped guitars that sound quite dull acoustically. When you've plugged them in and when you're playing with high gain, you can't notice it at all, really. There's a slight decrease in sustain, perhaps. This particular guitar, I really haven't noticed any of the kind of EverTune downsides. So I haven't noticed any dullness, any lack of sustain. Bending is just as enjoyable as this on any other guitar that I've got with a fixed bridge. So it's really up to you, you know. When you have a guitar with a Floyd Rose, you make a similar trade-off for being able to do tremolo effects, dive bombing, all that type of thing. You know, I recently reviewed a Solar X-Type on the channel, and unfortunately that thing had real problems with tuning stability, and the experience I had of recording and filming myself playing on that guitar for you guys was just thoroughly unpleasant. When I'm playing heavy stuff, I like to pick really hard, like really go for it, dig in, and you know, just get that extra little bit of sound you get by really playing your balls off. And this guitar with the EverTune bridge gives me such reassurance that I can just play this guitar however I want, and I am not going to go out of tune. That is the trade-off and the upside that you make for having an EverTune bridge. You guys decide if that's right for you and your needs. Me personally, I really like this bridge, but I wouldn't want all of my guitars to have it fitted, just because I really like the way some of my guitars currently sound, and sometimes there is no substitute for just a hip shot bridge, a nice roasted maple neck, a bolt-on, and just a nice bright, snappy guitar. Now, how does this thing sound? Well, on top of the already completely unique paint job, specs, all that other thing, this guitar is fitted with a chromed set of Fishman Fluence pickups, and these are actually wired up in a completely unique way that I've never seen before. So you have the usual three-way selector, You have one push-pull pot controlling the different voicings of the pickup, so each pickup has 2 voicings, but you have a second pot which engages a -5 dB on the pickups. So this is really useful if you find the Fishman Fluence is just far too hot, that they're pushing the front of the amp just way too much, or if your clean sounds are breaking up when you don't want them to. So engaging this 5 dB reduction is just a really unique option. I've never actually seen a guitar fitted with it before from the factory. Engaging the passive voicing and engaging the -5 dB reduction on a clean tone just gives you like a really nice backed off, like passive pickup feel. I mean, personally, I find the clean sounds on Fishman Fluence to be just exceptional. You know, incredibly crisp, bright, glassy, certainly not like dull and artificial sounding like some active pickups can be. In terms of the bridge pickup, there are 2 voicings there. There are passive and active voicing. You guys, long-time viewers of the channel, know that I prefer Fishman Fluences on 7 and 8 string guitars. I don't genuinely go for them on a 6 string. But if you exclusively use voice 2 like I do on the bridge, which is the passive voicing, you get such a nice, like big, full, crisp, like pushed active sound. You know, when you're playing leads and you're doing single note runs on strings, this guitar can have the feeling of almost like it's playing itself, because there is just so much output pushing that signal from the guitar. Now, has everything I've said made you want to consider this guitar or maybe another signature model? Are you in the camp of it's a no-no and you don't want to wear someone else's sweater? Or like me, are you kind of the position that signature model guitars give you an opportunity to own something that otherwise may not exist? Big thanks once again to our new channel supporter Live Louder for loaning us this guitar for review. If you enjoyed this video, please do help me out by liking it and subscribing to the channel. Better yet, you can financially support the channel by donating me a cup of coffee. Just go ahead and use the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you so much for joining me once again for this chilled review. Until the next video, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.